We just got new equipment and it colors the camera, like the image is like really saturated and we're not really sure how to change it. How does that look?
Looks pretty saturated to me. I'm actually always this orange. It's just how I am.
I did actually Donald Trump myself recently with a fake tan from Target. Oh, it actually looks more normal here,
nice.
but then on there it shows us being really saturated.
Interesting. Well, good to know.
Ooh, I played the recent spirituality vid for my husband last night, and now he's on board with the woo-woo perspective I have on trying plant medicine for PTSD/TX-resistant depression. Love you guys.
Aww.
That's awesome.
Let us know how it goes.
People are like, Tana's been struggling with this new haircut, so I do think we need to all kind of have a little...
Well, I think it's like, you know, I need to work it a little bit, but it is what it is. Someone said my hair was giving hetero on Instagram, and so I was like,
"That's so rude and not true." No. I don't think so. I think it's
not this one. That's what led to this.
Oh, okay.
I mean, you know.
Yeah, it is kind of a hetero haircut, but then it's also like hetero is more of an entire holistic vibe, and you don't have that.
I don't think,
yeah. Yay. As a lesbian, I think it looks great, Tana. There you go.
Thank you. I actually feel like more of a lesbian than any. Like when I look in the mirror, I'm like,
yeah.
That's just always been across the board. I
think that's generally ideal.
Yeah.
On some level.
The lesbians know what's up. What would this world be without lesbians? This is a lesbian live stream.
This is a lesbian live stream. Welcome.
Lesbianing us back to life.
What are we doing today? We don't have a firm plan.
We've come to you without purse or script. That is to say, we have no money and no plan.
Yeah. We have new equipment so that we can start streaming because we need to add something else in to keep the channel financially sustainable for us.
Or Mummy's gonna starve to death. Samantha has only so many leftovers to heat up for me.
It's true. Yes, we thought we'd start out by doing just a group tarot for all of us.
I think that would help.
Opportunity to sell. Alex!
What's up? Oh my god, all our friends are in the chat.
An instant buy solution is a septum piercing.
You're so right.
Yeah.
Oh,
an instant buy solution if needed in emergencies. I wish I was brave enough for piercings.
Thanks to everyone who's been donating. That's so sweet. Alex is so nice.
I love Alex.
Yeah.
He's one of our
We were just talking about you earlier.
And he gives some of the best discourse on our Stephanie series on Patreon, patreon.com/self on the shelf. Pledges list was $1 a month to get access to the whole series. Someone said moved back in with my mom and parents after graduating from college. Gonna need a little bit more info on that because how are you surviving? We will start by coming to the
JD Redemption.
Thank you, JD Redemption. We really appreciate any and all super chats in this video, whether they're just expressions of love or you have a topic you want us to talk about. We will do anything for money.
Someday we hope that all your donations will lead up to us buying a dunk tank that will allow us to get dunked every time you pay money. Wouldn't that be fun for all of us?
To slime.
Yeah, and then
the slime tank, and then we start 401ks.
Yeah.
The way Jesus would want it to be. Okay. Do you want to pull a card for this?
On behalf of everybody.
Everyone here, by coming to this live stream,
yeah,
you have connected to the same wavelength of tarot that we are on.
If you do not consent to being part of this tarot energetic vortex, put your thumbs in your ears and go, what is all and then that will.
And then just send a quick super chat and it'll be fine.
Then you'll be good. Are you doing the magician thing where you're trying to get me to pick a... Okay. The Ace of Pentacles. Well, interesting.
Thank you, Casey. Thank you so much. You guys are already coming through the super chats, and that really means a lot to us. I have no idea. We've been stressing about money lately.
I feel so cringe asking for money.
I know.
But then I remember the televangelists every episode. I can't do one more televangelist bit. Y'all have seen it. You get it. I don't have to do it.
And it's tough because I with like it's just cringe being like, please give us money so we can keep doing this, because like it's kind of like, well, if you were good enough, you would be making enough money, and it's like it's so kind of on the line though, where it's like, am I being smart by continuing to have this be my career or not? It's like viable enough, but not. You get it.
No, mine's not viable. I'm not having that debate. It's long past that for me.
Yeah,
I'm living every day by faith.
Yeah.
God breathes me into existence, and
It's tough. It's tough. Okay, well, oh my God, I was just about to talk about abundance because I always try to have an abundance mindset, but then I also want to be like honest with our, people that watch our channel, like this is financially challenging, please help. But anyway, I think this card is going to solve everything.
But first of all, thank you, Casey.
We just thanked that one.
Oh, well, thank you again. Double thanks for you.
Okay, the affirmation for this card is I manifest everything I desire with ease. Meaning, you have the potential to grow something great right now.
This is all of us right now.
Please tell us what's coming. Like what parts of your life is this resonating with as I read? Please let us know. Think of this card as a key that unlocks abundance. Ask yourself, what seed am I willing to sow today that will help me create the comfortable, stable life I want? Doing live streams every Friday.
This is literally what the televangelists say. They're like, plant that seed of faith. Send us $1, and then we'll send you a letter back asking you for $10. And then you put $10 in your little envelope and send it back to us.
It's so scary when you do your televangelist voice because it is so good. Thank you so much, ZB Fruity. Where is the tiny one that got us through Chad and Laurie? Sadly, tiny one has gone to a new home. Well, happily, because he did poo on my bed like 3 times the one night he stayed here. Actually, I think it's a she in the end.
Really?
Anyway, if you
I tried to call them they the whole time because I wasn't sure.
I know. I went back and forth. We did a video reading. If you're not familiar with the Chad and Laurie Daybell situation, they're just like Mormon murderers, like doomsday preppers.
Just your average Mormon doomsday prepper Mormon murderer couple.
Fascinating story. We've actually learned more about it since making the video. But the other day we read essentially Chad, murderer, cult leader Chad's erotica, which you don't get to do that a lot. Read a cult leader's erotica.
We've only dusted on because there's so many like mainstream facts of Mormonism that need to be dealt with and grappled with that, just your average Joseph Smith level stuff. But then we don't even pay attention to all the podcastable crime content on the circumference of Mormonism.
Which Mormon ideologies do definitely play a role in. Like having an apocalyptic mindset, you can see when you believe in another life that it's easier to kind of off people,
We should do more true crime. Would you guys like that?
We should, even though I avoid true crime.
Me
the plague,
too.
Because it's scary.
That's what selling out is going to look like for us, is doing more true crime. But it is informative content too.
Oh, Jill must be a patron or just have watched all the series on YouTube. Love crawling into Jack's psyche with you both. The longest I've ever seen it. Same. I've never finished the book for a book club before.
Jack Wayland actually takes up the majority of the books I'm reading in full.
And the majority
I read about 3/4 of a lot of books and even less of more, but
I'd say like every other day we'll text each other in a Jack Wayland related vein. It's just like such a part of us now. Jack Wayland is the author of Charlie. For those of you who don't know, the iconic Mormon movie / romance novel that every teenager loved. And he also wrote 2 follow-up books, Sam and then Adam. All those series are on our YouTube, but then we're doing Stephanie on Patreon right now, and it's very good. Anyway, thank you so much, Jill, and thank you, Charles. Love your content, and especially the Jack Wayland stuff. Yay. I knew that making the Sam and Adam series, like putting them on YouTube, would be a smart call, can I just say? Because I feel like so many more people are like understanding Jack. Like Charlie was good, right? But when you see someone write multiple books and keep the same things going, it casts a whole new light.
We've reinvented parasocial relationships. We have a whole different thing going on. Have.
And thank you, Naya, not sure how to pronounce. Really, 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 really appreciate your super chat. So let's finish with the tarot card and then we can read how it's resonating with everyone. Ask yourself, what seed am I willing to sow today that will help me create this comfortable, stable life I want? The energy of potential material gains surrounds you now as we are doing this fundraising live stream. The tarot never misses. It won't always be easy, damn it. Fuck. Hard work never is.
Not interested.
Please prove the deck wrong. But the payoff will be worth it. And then the reverse of this card, I always like to read the reverse. Both the reaching towards and receiving of material gains has a way of knocking us off course if we forget about the big picture. Money, our careers, our houses, our houses, our cars.
Who needs one?
These can all be as fleeting as they can be unsatisfying. Newfound earthly fortune doesn't. That feels a long way off. This one doesn't. Newfound earthly fortune doesn't mean newfound happiness. Don't develop a false sense of security. Done. Perfect. And you won't be disappointed. Great.
Would y'all believe me if I told you I know how to get some buried treasure?
Then the self-care challenge for us all is write a list of all you want to manifest. I do like this. Then write a parallel list of the desires behind each of your manifestations. What about what's behind them? Keep going until you feel you've reached your deepest, truest desire, the one that's in your highest good, that serves your soul the most for the longest. Focus on manifesting that. I do love that perspective because it is so easy to be like, you know, I really want a house, or I really want to be engaged, or like I really want whatever the thing is.
$10.
But it's really like it's usually like I want to feel security, or I want to feel, and usually there's ways that you can meet your desires that don't necessarily require you to like get a house or like find a spouse. Like there's smaller everyday day-to-day things you can do to like bring that energy into your life. So I do appreciate the idea of like, you know, have goals, but then also like be aware of what's behind them, because also sometimes it's ego enhancement, and that's, you know, worth being clued in on.
Mel A.
Oh, you guys are being so nice. Always love catching you both live. Now this teacher can enjoy a drink to celebrate the end of the school year.
Oh yeah, I saw people in robes today.
Wait, is it the end of the school year?
And then I saw people in a graduation.
England summer is 6 weeks, and it's like July to September. But you guys get like 3 months off, don't you?
Yeah.
Anyway, end of the school year, and share a bit of my last paycheck. What's financial stability? No teachers are allowed to donate.
Yeah, we should be donating to you.
Yeah.
Support our teachers.
Well, I mean, here's a bit.
Support that one teacher who really made a difference,
Yeah.
who I'm sure you are.
Thank you, Jessabeth, and thank you, Tanya. You can always start a cult when you're ready to sell out and avoid taxes. Tana could, because Tana has the charisma to start a cult.
Today I was looking, and let me see if I have a screenshot so that I can be precise with the numbers.
Thesis on everything.
Yeah. In the middle of that, I checked my bank account. Oh no, I do have $16.
You have $16 right
but
now?
$76 of debt. So
Whoa, wait.
it's grim.
I can't believe that's real. You have
I just shared that with you.
You have
but you know, I think it'll be fine. I've lived like this for so long that now I'm like the eye in the storm. And what I've learned is that we all need each other, and my community supports me, and I feel so loved and held. And it's really faith in the people that I have around me, and so I'm very appreciative of you guys. And if I can just calm my nervous system,
mindset, sharing mindset.
Yeah. Have a beer.
Someone said, I'm sorry I don't donate on here. It just hurts to know how much of it YouTube takes. YouTube does take a percentage. If you would rather, I'll just put our Venmo in the chat in case you'd rather not give YouTube any money.
But what I was thinking today is, at what point do you start a conservative grift? Like, it would be so easy.
Although you wouldn't be able to scrape your online presence enough, though.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. To conservatives, it doesn't matter. The past doesn't matter. You just are like, I believe in Jesus. And then it's like, well, okay.
If we wanted to sell a book to Deseret Book about like how we went from being like apostate anti-Mormons to coming, like we could probably pull this
is a Mike Norton job. This is actually, it should be a collab, because we could do some creative work. Mike Norton has the stamina that we don't have. Like I can't put on a ruse long enough. I don't have the energy for it. But Mike is the kind of person who could go undercover for like a year to get rebaptized, publish a story that gets picked up by the New Era. He gets invited to speak at a regional conference, and then he's like, fuckers.
Oh, thank you. So why am I getting Venmo requests on this new laptop? That's interesting. Thank you so much to... I'm just going to read out Venmos as well, as if they're super chats, because it's the same thing. Thank you, Frederick. Very generous, and we love you all. And thanks for letting us just shamelessly fundraise on a live stream.
Jeannie
we
says,
really appreciate it.
Guru Tanner and we were literally talking earlier today about the pressure to be like having clothes all the time. And I love clothes. I think it's so fun to be able to change your appearance all the time. Classic Gemini. I just think it's fun ways to self-express.
Geminis.
But there's a lot of pressure, and it costs money too, unless you can figure out a good way to do that. But I was like, what is stopping any of it? Just like wearing a burlap sack just all day, every day. You know exactly what it's going to be. It's the modern equivalent of the barrel. Why not? Bring it back. Let's do it.
I told Tanner he's an artist. You can absolutely get away with doing a burlap sack thing for like a good year.
I was like, let me try racing stripes, and then I'll try the sack.
Sorry, what just...
What? That's not real.
If that was a typo, Ray,
Ray,
we will send it back.
that can't be real.
If not, that's the most generous thing in the whole world, and I'm not even.
Are we even allowed to mention that on camera, on live? Have we?
Do you have? We should. I feel like we should write a poem.
We should be. We need to write a poem. Yeah.
We need to make a little Ray shrine. You're more of the wordsmith. Let me beatbox and you.
Ray just gave us a whole lot of money. I and my buddy Sam, we don't think it's funny. We're kind of getting worried. This could be a scam. He says, send it back, and I've got the plan. He said
it's real.
That's real. Oh my God, Ray!
Okay, that is actually chilling.
I'm dissociating.
I'm not too tarot believing, but I'm like, that is a little bit chilling.
I'm gonna go jump out the window to see if I'm real.
Tana's just gonna do a quick little. Thank you so much.
That is so kind.
And this isn't the first time we've seen you showing support for the channel. You've been like there's the people that you kind of, there's commenters that you're like, oh yeah, right. Or, there's
constellations of commentators.
Yeah. And we see you all.
Oh, I'm going to cry. That is so generous. Thank you so much.
We have to keep the live stream going now.
Yeah, we honestly should dedicate the rest of this to Ray, but the show must go on. Thank you so much. Yeah, in loving memory of Ray. This video might outlive you, Ray. I'm just being honest. It could. We could also, through artificial intelligence, configure some system that can scan our genetic code and then replicate it in a big computer or something and live again. But maybe not. And maybe life is all that we got. And this video will continue on after you're dead. And the people watching, benefiting from it in 120 years, just before the ecosphere collapses, will appreciate what you did.
I think those are the kinds of concepts that would really hit harder were you in a Burlap Sack right now.
I think so too. I really think so.
Oh my God, the LDS Judge made it on the Philip DeFranco show.
What's the Philip DeFranco show? Sometime this week.
What's the LDS? He's just kind of like he's a YouTuber who's been a YouTuber forever. He's just like a big deal. Happy upcoming Gemini season, you two. That is why I've been feeling so good lately.
It's my birthday on Tuesday.
I hate how I don't believe in any of it, but I'm also like, yes.
There are aspects about it that I identify with, but I think there are broad conceptualizations that apply to like a huge swath of people. So you're like bound to get a lot of crossover.
Hi, Nuanto, Cara. And also, thank you, Kathleen, who sent us $16 to double Tana's bank account. I mean,
oh my God. Yeah.
1.5 it because we split everything 50-50 across the channel, anything we do. Sorry, I feel so guilty.
Except for the secret ones I do, where I put on a Paddington mask and meet you at the park.
My account is -14 right now, but I know I'll be fine. You will be fine. The tarot deck said.
What's everybody manifesting? It told us to do that. What are we trying to even manifest here? What kind of desires?
I'm curious what other people thought about the tarot. We've been getting so excited by all of the fundraising this has successfully done. Normally we do a live stream and then we come away and we're like, okay.
This has actually turned my crown upside down.
I know.
I was in kind of a funk this morning.
Yeah. Okay. Someone said Copeland's mega church is like 5 minutes from me.
Whoa. Copeland is like the scariest one too. He's the one I try to channel when I want to be like the evilest person.
Oh, I don't know about him.
Ooh, he's a snake. He's a
snake. Like private jet.
Yeah.
That kind of vibe.
Yeah.
Someone said I predict a fun show that brings in a wealth of happiness to those watching. That was before It's not just Ray, because it's more than just Ray.
We are all Ray.
We are all Ray.
And again, physically, we are. What are we but rays of light, waves in the field of Ray?
Alice said,
Fields of Ray is like a 2000s punk rock band.
Fields of Ray. Rated Ray. Even tarot tells me to finish my master's dissertation.
Yeah.
Greatness is within your reach right now.
What's your dissertation on? That's so cool.
Yeah. Ooh, planning to start growing a salsa garden. So maybe that counts. That 1000% counts.
Yes.
Antioxidant rich.
Oh, that's going to be the best salsa. That will taste better than any salsa you could ever
your
buy.
Health trajectory.
Oh,
growing too much, just growing.
And just being outside in the sun.
Yeah, you're adding 10 years to your life.
That's great.
True crime is such a tough one. I don't like to do anything that adds more ideas to my brain of you could get murdered. I was listening to this podcast the other day that isn't about true crime, but they basically said if you like camping, don't ever listen to this true crime podcast. Or if you like going camping in national parks. And I was like, what? Like, I'm never going to listen to that because I cannot have any ideas introduced.
Right, because it gives you this, it'll hijack your nervous system.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
you associate that with like this potentiality when statistically that's not likely to be the case. Like we make the stories about them because they're horrible, but they're not. I think we
think if we like hear about this stuff and then we won't be blindsided, but it's like realistically, if someone like comes to kill you at your campsite, that's probably just going to happen no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like people listen to true crime because their nervous systems are like, I've got to like keep being prepped, and it's like creating this false sense of you're securing yourself, but you're actually just like making yourself feel more unsafe.
Right.
The statistics of it happening to you haven't changed. It's like when I got really obsessed with worrying about earthquakes and I was researching it all the time, and so then it just like was ruining my life.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we had that earthquake that was like 5.8, that was the first earthquake I've ever experienced. I was like, oh, it actually wasn't that bad when it happened, because your brain gets so present when a disaster happens that you don't really have, it wasn't as bad as I'd anticipated. Like I thought I would be so freaked out in that situation because I'd been so scared of earthquakes for so long.
I was cool as a cucumbber. I went back to bed. I was like,
this
doesn't feel like it's going to take a house down.
And even then, you know. Am I still growing out my bangs? Yes, for now. But the more I'm growing them out, the more I'm like, I like them. I should keep them. But then I'm like, I should see it through a little bit more, give my forehead some exposure again, and then just sort of see what happens. My dissertation is on the topic of the nuances of social adaptation of people of different sexualities. Ooh, playing with fire. Russian law. I don't get it. Oh, Russian. Oh, are you Russian? Are you writing that dissertation in Russia? Tell us more.
Yeah, we need more intel.
My nervous system is always at 150%, so true crime gives me an actual reason for the panic fueling my days. That's good.
I feel that. I can't be a parent. There are people out there who are built to be parents, and it's not me. Yeah. If you see me in real life, you're like, that creature's not a parent. It can't handle that.
You're very in tune with kids, but I like, and I feel like I would be a great mother, but I feel like we don't have it in us to be parents because it's like the commitment, the stress. We can't even have a job, let alone like you can't quit a child. That's it. This is so true, Trevor. Once you faced your existential fears, the things you feared the most in your life, everything else loses the capacity to phase you too much. It's so true. You know, when like your worst, I feel like there's been a few times in my life where like my worst fear has come true. For example, the church not being true. For example, getting divorced. For example, the earthquake happening. Like the things I feared the most happened. And then I'm always like, oh, I didn't need to be scared of that. Like, you know, because in number one, when these things happen, like you figure it out. And it's the foresight doesn't really help that much.
Was it Seneca who said we suffer twice as much in imagination as we do in reality?
I'm the Buddha.
What I was saying earlier about trying to just be the eye in the storm, it really is. And I think for everybody, because we live in just like such a hyper-stimulating environment where we're these like monkeys who are coping with becoming these like magic futarian robot monkeys who are intaking events from all over the world that are radically restructuring how we identify with the world, how we identify with each other, and old militaristic structures are shaking and clenching their iron fists. So it's a lot of pressure that we're all under constantly, and the art of like learning to just like, that's what I was just doing this morning. He's like, I just need to just breathe and breathe, because if I keep thinking about all this stuff, it's just going to make me like.
Not only does breathing, like calm your nervous system, so change. When your nervous system is activated, the thing like your reality is entirely different. Like the way you feel about yourself when you're depressed versus when you're in a normal mood, it's like two different realities. Like both exist and they're both fully real when you're in them. But anyway, I feel like everything you need to know to actually prepare for like disasters or anything happening, you're more likely to get in touch with when you breathe and when you calm down. That's where all the wisdom is. But it's like we have this delusional idea that like staying stressed and like overthinking and worrying is going to be the thing that protects us.
Yeah, if I could just develop a plan and figure it all out and get to the bottom of this.
I have to pee so bad because I had a whole beer.
All right, I'll hold the show down, I guess. All right, what do you guys want from me? Should we tell secrets while Samantha's gone? Oh, I'm manifesting no human thoughts, just monkey vibes. That's what I am all about. Ever since I was a kid, I have loved primates. I thought monkeys were the coolest. All my stuffed animals were monkeys or gorillas. I just think they're so cool. And because there's so much like us, it freaked me out too. I was scared of them. I was like, oh my God, they're so much like us. It's freaky. It's because, well, y'all know. Social pressure and discrimination forces queer people to adapt to societal expectations in sometimes unhealthy ways, including being in more sensitive interpersonal relationships. Aha, cool. Well, I can't wait for you to finish that. Send it our way when it's published. I love scholarly people because, as everyone knows, academics are just nerds, and I love people who have like dedicated their lives to learning something or understanding some facet of reality and then better communicating it to the rest of us so that we can improve how we're living in this world. The more we know, the better. I think what was the band? The less I know, the better. You know who that is? You know what I'm talking about? Anyone know what I'm talking about? I feel so alone here. Oh, Ellen. Oh, Samantha helped me breathe through a panic attack once. That's so sweet. Yeah, Sam worrying. Sam is always the one who's like, it's fine. She's the one to go to in an emergency, like a kitten being orphaned on the street. Poor thing. What's Sam's middle name? I cannot divulge it at the time, but if you approach the veil, I'm manifesting abundance and lots of hornworms for my lizard child. Hornworms? Yeah, all right. What kind of lizard child? An iguana? Iguanas are cool. Also, other lizards are cool too. As a card-carrying alphabet
Sorry, I took so long. I was texting.
It's okay. I'm just like whispering with people.
Oh, nice. We're doing ASMR.
Yes, we are. Hi, welcome back. Ray wanted to know your middle name.
Louise.
And your mother's maiden name?
Aw, Sam helped me breathe.
Oh, bearded dragon. Hey, can I tell you a funny story involving a bearded dragon? Those are so cool, by the way. I was once like probably 12 years old walking with my little brother from a friend's house down the street, and this person, a neighbor or somebody I didn't know, was like, hey, come here. And I was like, just kind of like with my little brother, like, and he's like, hey, come here. I have an Australian bearded dragon. It's in my garage. You want to come see it? And I was like,
you know how you're always like, what drives people to get animals like that? It's that. It's just like attention.
And they're cool. They're cool. They're fun.
Cool. But there was a guy with a giant dragon on his shoulder at the farmer's market once, and I got like really close to him, and then I was like, oh, fuck. And I found it so scary.
Well, the guy wasn't trying to kidnap me, turns out. I thought he was, but turns out he did have an Australian bearded dragon, and he came and showed us, and I was like, that is really cool. I used to catch horny toads or Texas horned lizards by their real name or their Texas name, and they're just like big ones of those.
I have buffoonophobia, which is a phobia of toads. I kind of am wondering if I've outgrown it in recent years, though, from like just becoming more into mindfulness and doing psychedelics. Because I don't feel as scared as I used to. Like I used to not be able to see a picture of them without like my whole nervous system freaking out. But now I could maybe see it. But nobody send me a picture of a toad. I swear to fucking God.
I have over the years tried to limit the amount of toad and frog content I put on the internet.
Have you really?
Yeah, because sometimes you see a good frog name, then you don't want to share
Frogs
it.
are fine.
Well, toads, I got trypophobia.
Oh.
I didn't know that was a thing.
Do you have that?
Until I
you
would
are
see
the
these pictures of like small
Gemini
clusters.
best friend I've had who has that.
Well,
and your name's
then
rhyme.
astrology is real, and
Tana.
everything ever said about it is true. But yeah, like small clusters of bumps and holes. I'm like, oh!
We have a few Venmo super chats, as I'm calling them, to call out. So thank you, Ali. Stream super chat. Love your channel.
Oh,
My
thanks,
cat
Ali.
emoji. Thank you. Did we already thank Kathy? Yeah, we talked about that. Yep. Woohoo! Will I be doing a book recommendation video again? Yes, I think so. I've been trying to read more fiction in like the last Yeah, because I feel like I got too into self-help and nonfiction, and there's just nothing like being gripped by a fiction book.
It's nice.
The most recent book I read was called In the Dream House, and it was really good. It was a true memoir of abuse in a lesbian relationship, and it was just like such a page turner. And I like when stuff is real, like actually happened, but then also is like fiction in its style, you know, like very gripping and poetic. Yeah, I'm only afraid of toads, not frogs.
Raise a
Greetings from
tropical
Brazil,
turtle.
Tana.
Oh. Boa tarde. Bom dia.
Question is, what is your rising and moon though? I always forget. And then I always re-download CoStar again, and then I forget again.
Who said Brazil? What part of Brazil? Did they say in northeastern Brazil they'd say Deu Águia, which means gave eagle, as a
Alright.
way of saying like that's too bad. Like I woke up with no money. Deu Águia em geral. Gave eagle in general. Tell me something fun that they say
Where
there.
did Banksy go? Is he locked in somewhere? Because I'm like, why is he not bugging for food right now?
Banksy's working on his craft.
Okay, that's cool.
He's got a whole book of poems and short stories that he's publishing
Completely
on top of
unsurprised,
his jazz album.
But the thing you need to know about Banksy, huge plagiarizer, always has been.
You know, I thought that was more of like his process where it's acknowledged that as such.
I know what you're saying.
Like sort of a parody or a
Right.
satire.
Right.
But I don't know if the law will agree.
What would make you feel closer to your audience? Bread emoji.
Some bread, yeah.
Okay, wait, I do have a question while we have 100 of you here. Has anyone's Mormon family or friends been like at all commented or shown any interest in the 60 Minutes thing that just came out? Like, do we think it's making waves? I can't imagine it's not making waves. At the very least, I feel like things like that are good for, you know, it's less likely that people would join the church if stuff like that is being put out. Like that's one outside of, you know, deconverting members, which maybe it doesn't often do.
Yeah.
I feel like it's good when journalists, you know, do exposés on the Mormon church, because it makes it less, you know, if you always hear about the Mormon church through those lenses, you're less likely to join it. I would have been.
Mm-hmm.
So I like that.
Yeah, as far as like whether that will ultimately persuade members to, I'm projecting here. I'm sure there are people who really like that was the last straw for them, that they're like, I'm out of here, because it always just takes as long as it takes until there's that one thing that's like, I can't do this anymore. But it's
when the student is ready to learn, the teacher will appear.
And that teacher comes in the form of
could be us, could be 60 Minutes.
But like, yeah, my brother sent it to my brother-in-law and was not really received well. It's just like people trying to tell the story. The response that I've seen like on Twitter and elsewhere seems to be like, yeah, if the church was asked 20% of our money and they went in the back room and burned it, I would be fine, because it's literally not about that. It's like, yeah, you can't really argue. It's like, yeah, now to say that I'm not allowed to talk about it as someone who has paid into that and bought into that under a certain set of pretenses that, hey, this is going to be going to charity or toward the maintenance of the thing, which I am also like working for as a free employee, cleaning and shit.
That's what's so
only
crazy.
To know that this has been like spent on $1 billion mall. Like
the fact that anyone could have objections to, or like could fail to understand why people would want to spread that information when they have paid into that system under like legitimately false pretenses. Like, I think we all believed the church was giving a lot more money to charity than it was.
Yeah.
And also, even if you're still fine with how much the church has given to charity, don't you think people still deserve to kind of know more?
Yeah. And
why is financial transparency ever bad?
That's really the question. It was like, well, the response was, well, this is a really well-run organization. It's like, you literally couldn't know that unless they were upfront about their finances, and the only people who aren't upfront with their finances is because they don't want people to know. And why don't you want people to know? Because then they will have an opinion on how it's being spent, and then if you're making claims that contradict what you're actually doing, yeah, you're going to get some heat for that. And then if you're using that money that you are not paying taxes on to influence politics that is affecting people who don't belong to your church, that also complicates the question quite a bit. Moral of the story.
Oh, that I've heard of that.
Send us 10% of your money or you will burn
Even
in hell.
1%, 0.5%.
All you
We're not
trichophobes
picky.
out there are just going to see clusters of small holes and bumps, just toads. You're going to be swimming in a sea of toads for all eternity. Can you imagine?
Have you heard that of people will never tip more than 10% because the Lord asks for 10%? That's like someone said that in the chat, and that's like the second time I've heard that this month.
Oh my God.
I have a friend who's like a faith deconstruction coach, and someone gave him a really big tip because they would always never tip while going out to restaurants and stuff. And I'm like, wow. Just like kind of being a dick to servers, but making it spiritual.
And that's
Classic.
Christianity for the last 2,000 years. It's no offense to the good ones out there.
Yeah. You, James Fowler, stage 6, guys and gals. Well, what should we do? Do you want to go on the Mormon subreddit?
I think we should talk about what we're trying to manifest. What are you trying to manifest?
It sounds boring, but genuinely just like financial stability. I feel like we are more financially stable than we've ever been. I feel like we're in the best place we've ever been. We only went full time like a year ago. It's basically a year ago now. And we've definitely, we've climbed in that time. I feel like the quality of our content has improved. Our dedication has improved. I feel really good about the work we've done the last year, but yeah, I'm definitely ready to not feel like depleting my account every month, being like, gonna have to get a different job. Is that too personal? Is that TMI?
No, I think as our shareholders, they ought to know.
This is the worst shareholders meeting. We're like drinking beer. Yeah.
We're not union.
But really, I feel like life is so good, but there's, as much as money isn't happiness, like you do need an amount of it. I want to be able to visit my family in England. I want to be able to, owning a home just feels like such a stretch goal that it's hard to even have that proof. But, I'd like to feel like secure in my living situation. But also very grateful for the amount of abundance we do have. And, when we do have a roof over our heads and we do always find a way to eat most of the time.
And a lot of the psychopaths running the world, I mean, look at Donald Trump, who is like literally penniless for most of his career, but just has assets and people and assholes swirling around him. And he just, of course, we don't have the amphetamine regime that he does.
I do. Not Sudafed though. Just standard Adderall, I'm making a cocktail.
But a what?
You want a cocktail?
I want a cocktail.
What does that mean? A coffee?
Yeah.
I can give you a chai latte or an energy drink.
A chai latte sounds awesome. Okay. Honest question, no insult intended. Why are you wearing a cross earring, Tanner? To me, it's a murder weapon, and I've never understood Christians to wear it, let alone non-believers. All right. Well, I'm wearing it because I like how it looks. And actually, I'll take it off so you can see, because I do like this guy. Because this guy, like, it's a little bit self-ironic because I was a true believing Christian, so in a way, it's sort of like a reappropriation of a symbol, not in the form of mocking other people, but having some fun with something that I myself bought into. And then if you can see the guy, I don't know if the camera will be able to focus well enough. But there's a guy on it, and he's just like a weird, like, dude with, like, an alien dude with abs with, like, a little. It doesn't look like Jesus. I think it's supposed to look like Jesus, but the jar is such low quality. I made this. I made it too. So.
Tanner, I have a situation. I'm making a cocktail with this sake, but you're supposed to never pour your own sake, so I need you to make sake for me.
Be it far from me to.
I just don't want to insult.
Yeah.
Is it Japan?
It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene. Wow, calling me a white supremacist is like saying the N-word. It's like
no, you don't think saying the N-word's bad.
Is that how much sake you want?
Thank you. That? Yeah, perfect.
It's also the cross was used by occultists, one of the oldest in modern times. It claims to be ancient. It's not like the Freemasons and the Mormons. It's like a modern Victorian era, or a few centuries before thing. But the Rosicrucians were like one of the earliest occult orders, and I've read a lot about occultism, and like with everything I read about, there are some interesting things and a lot of phooey. But the cross is a part of that, and something that I just think is interesting and looks kind of fun. It makes me feel like Billy Idol. I don't know.
I think it's cool. I was meant to.
Oh
Jared, come and
my
debut your new shorts.
God.
Wait. Before you show them, tell us about this piece. Come closer
Wait.
to the microphone and tell us about this piece.
Jared, brilliant.
Yeah, but don't let them see you yet. And then you can do the big reveal.
Wait, or you could kneel down just so they can't see the shorts. I feel like it would help to see Jared, right?
Okay,
Right?
yeah.
Jared, if you want.
All right, come back. Just
I feel
kind of
like doing
cruel.
a big reveal is gonna make people disappointed.
All right.
No,
Well,
it's great.
Jared made a pair of shorts today out of thrifted scrap fabric.
I made a pair of shorts out of thrifted scrap fabric today, and I thought it turned out really cute. And here it is.
Wait, what's that bit? Turn around again.
It's a Doctrine Covenants Girl Scout.
Oh my God! Wait, there's a
Getting
show
closer.
that bit. Get back up a little bit.
Jamie, could you?
There's
zoom
a
in
little
bit?
Doctrine and Covenants Girls Camp logo on them that makes them even better. And Jared, these are going to be for sale where?
Those are so. That is literally
Those
the
are
coolest
sick.
item of clothing I've ever seen. I can't believe it's handmade.
I just want them to make them for me.
Ray, our biggest shareholder, said we want Jared. So you really need to be, dancing as much as you can, I think. Our biggest shareholder, did I mention?
Who's? Well, that's cool. Okay, I'm gonna bounce. Bye, everybody.
Bye, Jared.
Congratulations.
I'm gonna go to Al's house for a second.
Oh, okay. How long for?
Huh?
How long for? Okay.
But I'm gonna miss you guys.
I miss you too. Subsidizing my Jack Whalen tithing. Drink chai and be merry.
Oh, thanks, Kelly.
Chai, sake, a taste of the East tonight. People are saying bye, love you, and yay, Jared. And they're saying love those, so fun, love it, so cool, sewing king, successful shorts, cute, lots of compliments, more than I can read out. And everyone's like, Jared's here. Jared
That's
loves
really
compliments.
I love you guys.
What will we? Jared's hot pants look great. Do you want to feed Banksy before you go? Just because I won't be able to do it because of the stream situation, and he's getting. Should we bring back treats for Banksy for super chats?
No, it's not enough treats.
That was such a fun
But we
feed-a-thon.
not enough super chats.
We're the Banksy treaters now.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we had a little treat to give ourselves every time.
Orange cat, Banksy. White cat, Bernie Sanders. Black, brown cat that you probably won't ever see, Jack. Get that cat high. This is Jack.
Aww. Jack.
Jack, he has lovely blue eyes.
And anxiety.
And he's my son.
And his poetry is
And you-
all original, though worse than Banksy's.
Can you see
Makes you
the
think.
family resemblance?
I convinced my husband to watch your videos with me because he's obsessed with Banksy. Ah!
This is the channel is gonna just gradually phase us out as the cats become more and more the dominating presence.
I keep badgering Tana for us to do merch with all the different cats. You can either get a trio. Someone said, is Jack loud? I have a very similar looking cat and he's so loud. He's more of a mute. He's just like, he like chirps like a bird.
I've heard those Siamese ones are talkers.
Wonderful
yankers.
cat Jack. Hello.
Hit the road, Jack.
Cats will cat on the Zelf. So true. What were we talking about before Jared and his incredible shorts showed up? Also, thank you, Mariana. Thanks for being my internet friends for the Venmo super chat. I'll type my Venmo again in the live chat just in case. Just in case you guys don't want to give. I think YouTube takes 30% of super chats.
Oh, you
So-
gotta give.
Venmo is better. But
See, Jared gives.
is Jack named after Jack Wayland? I didn't even thought about that.
He is now.
Yeah, he is now. God.
Jack Wayland Anderson. That is actually a beautiful name. Oh, you can't be.
That's not fair.
Metal straws. That is ambitious. One of my reoccurring nightmares is breaking my teeth.
Why would you don't put your teeth on a straw?
Well, you're just like fiddling for it while you're doing your live stream or something, and bam! Next thing you know, missing bicuspid. That's the only tooth name I know.
That's more than I know, except molars, I guess.
And that's an insult to all my family. You know, in a family of dentists.
You were talking about Marjorie Taylor Greene. Jared was a pleasant distraction.
Thank you. See, we are a collective entity, and within all of us is stored our communal memory.
Mm-hmm.
It's beautiful. Marjorie Taylor Greene saying, yeah.
Who is Marjorie Taylor Greene again? I should know this.
But is like fully steeped in QAnon.
Is it Florida?
Not Florida, I don't think. I forget which state.
Don't you think it's kind of weird how because of sort of the what's the word? Like the celebrity of politicians these days, like random politicians will just become like really famous, like disproportionately to like how many people they represent. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Just like one state's politician will just blow up and become like a huge like cornerstone of the Republican Party.
Because they're just like the loudest person radical, in that corner of the culture war.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh my God, do we have
she
multiple
is Karen on steroids
bearded
and
dragon
bath
owners?
salts.
What is POTS?
POTS?
Yeah.
Oh, POTS is a device we invented to...
I have a doggo for my POTS. I feel like I know this and it's not coming to brain.
Oh, I don't know.
Polly. No, not that. Okay, well, what's everyone reading right now?
Jack Whalen, that's it.
Does anyone have any good summer book recommendations for me? They don't have to be like too light and fluffy, but like something that would like be reasonable to read by the pool.
I've been reading Rick Rubin's book.
I need to read that one. I've been reading Seth Godin's book on creativity, which is kind of like the bite-sized version. It's like the same concept.
Oh,
so
I
I'm
feel
trying
like
to close out, make it so that my head covers the door as Jared leaves.
Nice.
So I don't want to show where we live.
I'm really proud of
Hi,
you.
Jared.
I'm really proud of you guys for doing your little show.
Oh, thanks.
Yeah, you're doing a great
Our
job.
Despite
little
how
show that
humiliating
just
it
funded
is.
us for another month.
I just want to say I'm also a patron to these guys because I really think they're doing such a great thing.
But he
And
wasn't until the third year of our
I
relationship.
am so proud of them.
If we order dinner after this, that's a business expense.
We have to order pizza. It was part of Ray's instructions.
Okay, I'm going well then.
Love you. You're a fashion genius.
Come back soon.
Bye. I won't be too long. Love you guys.
Love you.
Okay, hurry up so I can move my head. We love this little show. Jared always calls it the little show. Your little thing that you guys do.
Little video skits. Rick Rubin, so good. Every time I listen to him, he is just so soothing on the nervous system. Just pure condensed wisdom.
I loved him with Andrew Huberman.
Yeah, that was.
But I wish
probably my favorite episode.
I
of
wish
the whole show.
we could interview him because I was like, Andrew Huberman, while a genius, is also I felt like it was like a bit of a mismatch conversationally.
See, I really liked it. It seemed
Really?
like Huberman was more like, he seemed like a little schoolboy,
Yeah, I
just like
know.
so happy to be talking to one of his
I felt
heroes.
like he had John DeLynn. I always feel like Andrew Huberman has John DeLynn energy, but I felt like he had
Yeah,
John
I see
DeLynn
it,
energy
yeah.
with like just when he really looks up to someone.
Totally.
I did find that endearing, yeah.
And the mix of the science and the
Yeah.
magic
Yeah.
was interesting. But you know who you should listen to is Rick Rubin on Krista Tippett's. She's so good.
You know what? I also just sorry, this is getting niche, but like Rainn Wilson, Dwight from The Office went on Duncan Trussell's podcast. I haven't listened yet, but I'm like, I bet that's going to be fucking good.
Yeah. Didn't he post something about Christianity there recently? No offense again to the good ones out there.
Rainn Wilson is like,
Okay.
universalist. As far as I know, he's like, he's not like, he's Christian. Maybe he's Christian in the way that Stephen Hassan is Jewish, but like universalist.
In the way that I'm Christian.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
We'll see. I don't know.
We'll
How's your
see.
chai latte?
It's delicious. Thank you so much. The problem with Rick Rubin's book is that there is no narrative whatsoever. It's like an egoless book. It's in a way, because obviously it's all from his perspective and it's all like take it or leave it. And there are a couple anecdotes, but there isn't a like stringing together of the anecdotes, and the anecdotes are quite infrequent. It's just kind of like ideas come on a conveyor belt through nature, delivered to us. We can unwrap them or not. They will continue going by and will be unwrapped by somebody else. It's just all stuff like that. He is Bahai? Interesting.
Wait, what's that?
Bahai is a group. I think it started in the middle.
Rainn Wilson is Bahai?
Is that what you're saying? That would be so interesting. Oh, Ishmael. I was just thinking about that book. We can come back to Bahai in a second. There were some things I didn't like about that book. But other things, like some of the thought experiments, I still think about on a regular basis. Like the one, can I spoil a little bit? Do I have your consent to kind of talk about one of the things of the book? It's been out for a while. Am I allowed? Can I just?
I don't know. I don't have what to. What do you think?
What do you think, Kelly? You're a paying customer around these parts. How far are you? My best friend in high school was Bahai growing up and ended up joining the Mormons. And the Bahai are kind of like how the Mormons claim to be universalists in a way. They're like, we don't believe in a hell. We believe that everyone will have a degree of salvation, which is actually a cool idea, in my opinion. Granted, I just think everyone should be saved because if it's an all-knowing being who intentionally makes things bad and then blames them for it, I'm like, that's just a bad system. If you're making the things, then they should all just be like, chill. Or then that's your fault as the all-knowing being who made them.
Yes. What, now it's on them to like make it up to you?
Yeah, so the Bahai, correct me if I'm wrong, but they kind of have this idea that like God speaks through everybody and everybody has a piece to the puzzle, and the one true prophet who told us this is the founder of the Bahai faith.
God damn it.
And if you leave the Bahai, they have a problem with it. It's, yeah. Because his parents were not chill with him becoming a Mormon, but yeah. He's since left that. Hopefully that's not. I have to remember that like you can't just say stuff about people all the time. I like never want to.
What do you mean? Oh, like alienate celebrities?
Yeah, or like telling us an experience about a friend or something, and then the friend's like, "Hey, you talked about me on your ex."
Guys, show. I have a really weird fact because someone just said Rainn Wilson used to have a YouTube channel called Soul Pancake about spiritual stuff. Yes, yeah. And you know how I know that? When I was at BYU Idaho for my senior project, so dumb. I made this video called Choose Happiness that went like viral. It didn't actually go viral. I think it got like 20,000 views. But at the time that was viral. And Rainn Wilson liked my video called Choose Happiness, which was kind of like half toxic positivity, half like genuinely useful, like, feel empowered to take charge of your own happiness. Anyway, I just think that's interesting.
2010's Facebook content.
Yeah, very much so. It was because it was 2013.
Wow, what a time to be a content creator.
And Aaron Allsop helped me edit the video, so it was really good, like quality wise. But isn't that crazy that Rainn Wilson liked my wild? Thank you, Jessa. You super chatted us earlier, so thank you so much. I had a therapist that was really trying to get me to become Bahai.
Whoa, that feels like a breach of ethics.
Okay, someone was telling me the other day that they went to a therapist and they had I think it was an LDS therapist, or maybe a Christian. I think LDS therapist, and they were kind of saying like, oh, I'm always like worried that things are Satan trying to deceive me. Like I can never trust myself because I never know whether it's Satan, because I think they were like ex-Mormon. And the therapist, I think they were just like a regular therapist, like in Utah. Like they probably were Mormon, but like it wasn't like explicitly I can't remember the details. But anyway, the therapist was like, Satan is very tricky. Like that was their response to someone saying, I'm worried that Satan's trying to deceive me and I can't trust myself. Satan can be tricky. Why? You shouldn't be allowed a therapist license if you believe in Satan. Or at least if it's going to come
If you want to believe in Satan, that's like a totally...
It needs to be
that's not what we're talking about here.
Yeah. It's chilling that there's just like people with such supernatural beliefs that inform the way that they do doing therapy.
Which, unfortunately... I guess actually just makes us have to have a complex view about therapy and psychology generally. Yeah. I don't mean to be a full optimist or a full skeptic. Like everybody needs to be in therapy, and it's like that's not true. It depends on what your needs are, who you're seeing, what kind of therapy you're doing.
But most people could benefit from a good therapist.
Yes.
I have so many. I'm just a life
that
coach.
it is like works with their personality, that is doing
Right.
a program that would be helpful to that person, because there's different kinds, and they're not all equally suited for the same tasks, and not everybody is as qualified to help people through them, even if they have the credentials.
I would say 50% of my coaching clients, life coaching being an unregulated industry that anyone can kind of just say, I got a certification, but like anyone can just say they're a life coach and start charging for it. 50% of my clients say they've done therapy and it just wasn't that helpful, or like, especially like with the post-Mormon stuff, because they've either gone to LDS therapists, obviously aren't helpful, or they go to people that have never been Mormons. They can't quite like, you know what I mean? They don't have like the insider know-how necessarily to be too helpful.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of scary to me, like therapy is the wild, wild west. Like the whole point of the qualification system is that you like to think that it makes it a bit more legitimate than life coaching, which is completely unregulated. And maybe it does on some level. Maybe it controls the worst abuses, but it's also like, just seems like there's such a spectrum of how good or bad therapists can be and how many fucked up things they can advocate for.
Yeah.
And just keep their license. Just like, yeah, Satan might be trying to trick you. That's something you should continue being worried about. Cool. Yeah, it is hard to... I won't knock on anyone doing therapy, but I've never found a therapist who can offer more help than a listening ear. I have found that from doing coaching, that like a big piece of the value you give people is just like the deep listening. I mean, I think that like can't be overstated. Ideally, therapists do more than that too.
It's tough. I mean, think of how often you're able to like really get into the thick of important, deep matters in your life and history with someone who can give you the time of day, that can speak like inquisitively.
Even having
about your
one
experience.
person who can do that is such a privilege. And I think about the fact that I have like a few, and I'm like, damn, it's such a gift.
Right. Because even your closest friends, you're not always like there. And if it's stuff that you're like needing to work through, like right now, this is a very like urgent pain that needs to be dealt with. It's like friends can't always take that on all the time, or a partner can't take that on all the time, or and it's tough out there. But kudos to everybody doing it. If I'm allowed to say kudos in 2023, we're bringing it all back.
Melissa said, I feel like my therapist was really invested in me making big changes that I wasn't able to make at the time. Like she needed me to validate her with tangible progress. That makes sense to me. I feel like something I've come to believe more and more the more I've done life coaching is that you have to kind of trust other people's processes, and the psyche reveals itself in layers. And you might look at someone's situation and be like, well, obviously they just need to leave this abusive relationship. And like, that may be true, but there's like layers of things that need to happen before their psyche is ready to do that. So it doesn't necessarily help to kind of have this attitude of like, you need to do that, or I'm kind of like just going to see you as a failure and sort of treat you as if that's the only, do you know what I mean? You kind of need to be able to meet people at every layer.
I had a conversation recently that gave me some optimism, talking to someone who's involved with the ketamine therapy program in administering. And the way that he was describing it, like I said, made me very optimistic, because it seemed so hands-off and helping a person establish a structure of thought, and then having them go into that experience with like no interaction from the person. It's just like, okay, you have these questions or these issues that you have presented that you want to deal with it. You go into that space, you let your brain sort that out. And then we're literally just here. That's the cool thing about psychedelics, and again, I feel like I have to say this every time I talk about them, because they're not for everybody, but for the people they are good for, it's literally like letting your brain be its own guru and sort its own shit out, without having to worry about being imposed upon by somebody else's, weird paradigm that they're operating through, or their unconscious desires or needs or expectations. And I think that the more psychedelic informed therapy 100%. That will happen in the world, the more we'll see like Good.
'Cause
And they are seeing progress.
you
with
really
it.
can see
It's
outcomes
what
with
the numbers are showing.
psychedelics. You can transport people to a place that you may not see in 10 years of therapy,
Yeah.
or that you may not see in 3 years of meditation. Like, it's just,
And that's what people say after. This was
Yeah.
better than 10 years of therapy.
yeah. So it's like, as much as, everyone, well, I co-hosted an episode for Mormon Stories with Stephanie Brinkhoff, who is such a genius and so wonderful, and I'm obsessed with her. But her episode is called like Mormon Mum Tries Mushrooms, and it was basically how about she tried mushrooms as a Mormon, like a faithful Mormon, and then just lost all her faith through just like 1 gram of mushrooms one time, because
Whoa.
it just, everything opened up for her. And there's a lot of people in the Mormon Stories comments being like, can't believe you're advocating for drugs, it's so dangerous, blah, blah, blah. And like, I think John tends to err on the side of like, we can't advocate for them. And I totally understand like being very sensible, and, I'm all for like, but not just being off the rails with it. But it's like, it really can't be overstated the potential benefit of being able to transport your brain to like an altered state that therapists could only dream of being able to get someone to,
Mm-hmm.
of like zooming out, or like going in,
Yep.
which whatever it is. It's a tough one though, because there's no like universal system.
Right.
That's what everyone needs to accept, and I think that's why
Yes.
people have such like polarized reactions to things like psychedelics or religion or whatever the thing is,
or
because
therapy.
we're so hungry for this like one true system.
Yes.
And it's like, that doesn't exist. It's all going to be, because there's not like one type of soil that every tree thrives in, and
Right.
it's the same with humans. But it's almost like we're so quick to either like extol the virtues of one system as universal, or to be like criticizing it because it's not universal. It's just
Yes. Yeah.
annoying.
Well said.
Just use the word extol. I'm so glad you're streamed on the day I confronted my family that have feigned ignorance of my abuse for a decade now. Damn.
Wow.
Feigned ignorance of my abuse.
That's such a common story.
Is that a Mormon family? And is that sort of part of the dynamic there, where they just don't want to face?
Oh, that
they don't wanna
report.
face it?
Who was it? It was somebody who works within the legal system in Utah, talking about how in all the however many tens or hundreds of cases he's seen, never once have the members of the church supported the victims. They've always shown up to defend the abuser. That is so grim. So grim.
I'm also seeing people talk about grief work in the chat, which makes me happy, because it's been interesting. Again, sorry, I'm talking about my life coaching so much, but it's just interesting seeing what I like went into it thinking people needed versus like what it's evolved into.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like so much of what I end up doing is grief work, is just like creating that space where like people need to just share their grief with someone who has like no bias, no investment in them being okay. You know what I mean? Just like completely unbiased. I mean, there's no
Can just see it. And
like we just have no space in society where we like hold grief together. And ideally that would be funerals, right? That would, and I think some people do funerals, right? And it can end up being that. But I mean, especially in Mormonism, so much of funerals is like pretending to be okay because we know that they're going to be together in the next life. And, it's just like everyone talks about how horrendous Mormon funerals are, especially if like the person was ex-Mormon and then their family marries them in their temple clothes and the person barely gets mentioned in the service. Like, that's not grief work. It's like toxic positivity, and it's, well, I don't know. It's a lot of things, but.
And it's especially hard for people who are coming out of Mormonism, where even though the access to communal grief sharing is limited, there is a degree of it where, like, in sacrament meeting, even being able to cry and ponder about how hard life is and how much of a sinner you are and how Jesus takes it all, those things are needed. Like, we need to have spaces where we can see each other in our pain and in our vulnerability. And religion has served that for some time, but it doesn't have to be that. But people coming out of the old systems often find themselves all of a sudden with the huge amount of grief, more grief than they've ever experienced, which is like being cast out of your tribe, which in the past has meant death, and holding that and not knowing where to find it. And thankfully there are people who are able to offer that to those who, for those of us who just can't access it immediately after losing everything that we've ever held dear.
Yeah. Someone said, serious question, how do I make sure my family cannot bury in my temple clothes?
Get it in writing.
Yeah, I was
get it
gonna say some
notarized.
kind of like like whatever the version of a will is that is like if I if you are serious, then there is like a legal route to that.
I need to do that.
Oof.
I need to get my funeral plans in order. You never know, you know.
You never know.
And I want mine to be a party.
So I think this is back to the family that feigned ignorance of abuse. Sorry if we're jumping around too much. Also, I've become a little bit tipsy from the sake. They decided to ask how they ever did something harmful out of love, like your love does not negate harm. I guess I'm thinking about just the concept of like doing harmful things out of love, because my perspective is like, that's not love. Sorry, that was a real
We've talked quite a bit in recent episodes about like conceptual love versus practical love, and this is a perfect example of it, where Christians who are trying to learn the art of forgiveness and compassion and all that, and it's something that we're, not just Christians are doing, but within the Christian paradigm, that you have this thing that's like, oh, I can conceptualize forgiveness to the extent that I could forgive even the worst person, Hitler, for instance. I could you see Hitler in the celestial kingdom? Well, then you're not ready for Christ. And so then your imagination of love covereth this multitude of sins. Meanwhile, the people who are suffering and who are in most deserving of your practical love don't see it, because you've already set up that the perfect application of love is being able to do nothing against the perpetrator, and in doing so ignore what's happening to the victims. That's why Mormons can literally baptize Hitler for the dead and then still be anti-Semitic or be like we're the Jews. Or exactly like what's happening here, where you have ward members who are like, oh, but this man is trying to repent and he's really trying, and it's such a struggle for him, and we've got to let him back in the fold. Meanwhile, he just keeps on abusing the same person.
It's easy to forgive and love people if it's all in your imagination. Yeah, because at the end of the day, love is a verb, and it's not about the intensity of your feelings. It's like you can have the strongest feelings for someone in the world, and you can murder them. Like we see that, like murderers who do it because they're like, I love you. It's like, but it's like, that isn't what love is. Like, I feel like true love is always about the benefit of the whole. Like, I really do think there's no such thing as one-way liberation. And is this getting too out there, this rant?
Oh, you've had to be reining in
the last few weeks of videos.
Is the same thing, and everything is relative and relational.
Yeah, but it's true. I feel like true love is that which isn't concerned with enhancing one's own ego. So therefore, all this nonsense of like being homophobic because you're like, that's what love is. It's like, well, but actually what's going on there is it's just like you wanting to like reinforce your ego identity, which is like, homophobia is good actually.
If I can't control your behavior, then you are being mean to me.
Control is love. I'd love to hear you talk more about grief work, especially how to make meaning out of the loss and find new rituals. It sounds really simple, but one thing I've always really appreciated is just like when there's a loss, and I like this for celebrating as well, but just like, for example, if someone dies, I think it's just really powerful to have the type of funeral or get together where everyone just like shares a beautiful memory. And I think that's what's so disturbing about Mormon funerals is often you don't get that. And if you do, it's like all very like
in the gym during the lunch hour.
What's that?
The overflow area.
Oh yeah, but like the actual service feels like it just all needs to be targeted towards like preaching the gospel. Yeah. And so it's like it's just every funeral is even like people in Mormonism die how they live, which is in service of the cult, and their funerals reflect that. Oof, chilling.
I've heard recently that the C word is not an appropriate academic.
I know people don't like that, but I'm like, that's what I see it as. When you say,
do we have a better word for groups of people that skew far on the spectrum of high control, low transparency?
I've been saying I normally do. I used to say high demand religion for a long time, and then since I interviewed Stephen Hassan, now I tend to say high control group a lot.
Yeah.
But I'm also just like, I was in it, and I do see it as a cult.
Yeah.
And sometimes you just want to say cult, and this is a live stream, so
Yeah.
it's not really.
Did we talk about Dan McClellan on this already?
No, but are you guys familiar
My
with-
favorite.
We need to plug in my device.
You look for that, and I'll talk about this. Thank you so much. My favorite YouTuber right now is Dan McClellan, and he's actually on TikTok. That's where he's like biggest, but also on Twitter, and like everybody, just everywhere. But I love him. He's active Latter-day Saint, but it never feels like he's trying to push the Mormon agenda. He's sharp as a whip, went to Oxford and all that, and really applies a scientific lens and a critical lens toward the Bible, the way that we interpret the Bible, the way that stories and cultures and myths are constructed, and I love his conception of renegotiation, that every word of the Bible is up for renegotiation, that it's all being negotiated constantly, and just a really, really, really mature and sensible approach to the Bible. One that's so refreshing. I don't hear anybody in Mormonism talking on the level that he's talking about. And so I don't like the fact that he's a believing Latter-day Saint. I was like, if this was Latter-day Saintism, I'd be like, hell yeah, keep doing that. Unfortunately, he's the very, 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 very small minority. But yeah, really digging his stuff. Check it out for anyone who wants like you probably already know him. He's bigger than us, but just enjoying his stuff. And another Mormon that my dad's been sending me stuff from a guy named Halverson. So I've been listening to his videos, and maybe I'll do a response on here to those. But it's just interesting time to be alive. Interesting things happening everywhere, and it's wild to see people just like retreating back, like being like, oh, the way to approach the future is in reverse. Like, let's just get back to the Bronze Age. That's what will fix all of this. That's where we went wrong. It's like, oh my God, freaky. Stella says doing acid for the first time was like the spiritual high I was always looking for while TBM but never found. Yeah, totally. That was it. It was like, oh, this was that thing that I wanted. Awesome. Cool. Great. This is the real deal. And it is a real deal. And you can be spiritual about it. And the effects are really profound. One of my favorite stories from like early acid days. I saw this on the documentary Orange Sunshine about a specific strain of LSD that was going around in the 60s, and apparently there was a gang that sold your Stephanie level drugs, your average crank, and hard drugs, and then they did acid, and it changed their mentality, and they threw away their guns, buried their weapons of war, and adopted a new mission, which was to get his acid to as many people for as cheaply as possible. Like, I think they even at one point flew a plane over a concert and just dropped it, a bunch of tabs, because they knew that it was going to be a catalyst for shifting human consciousness. I'm sure at the time they thought that they were going to radically and permanently shift and absolutely shift human consciousness. Of course, we know that didn't happen, and the hippie movement in general kind of fizzled out, but the effects of the psychedelic revolution, I think we're kind of witnessing the fruition of those seeds that were planted in the 60s and earlier. But that was my favorite story from the Book of Mormon, was the anti-Nephi Lehis who buried their weapons of war. Because I was like, that's what we should be doing, right? Like, that's what Christianity should be about. It should be about like peacemaking and the art of love and forgiveness and compassion. And beat our swords into plowshares. So that's what Jesus was all about. And then I learned that most Mormons are not of the same mind and actually think that fighting wars is really awesome, and that we've got to go hunt down Saddam Hussein because he's just so evil. But it was just cool to see that story, that fictitious story that I related to as a kid, happening in real life over a thing that really happened, because the experience with psychedelics, with acid, was like, whoa, this is the real thing. Like, it's really having an effect on my brain. I don't have to imagine it. I can't escape it. Like, it's present. in my immediate experience. Which it's funny how all religions are like staking your whole salvation and your whole life on somebody else's experience with God. Oh, that guy 2,000 years ago had an experience with God, and that's what will get me by. When every guy who did that is like, you got to have your own experience with God. I had my own experience with God, and that's what like psychedelics allow you to do. They allow you to have your own experience with God. When I say that word, meaning your relationship with highest sense of self and your connection with the other, however you conceptualize that. Welcome back.
Yeah, thank you. So a couple of comments while I was in the bathroom.
They're going to be so glad you're back.
If you already responded, that's fine. Someone said, Stella said, no such thing as unselfish love. All love has some selfish intent, and that's not bad. It actually helps us survive as a group. And yes, I mean, that's coming back to what we've been talking about on the channel the last couple of weeks of like everything is interconnected. So it's the most selfless and selfish thing you can do are like often the same. It's like that which benefits the whole
also benefits you, and the thing that benefits you benefits the whole.
100%.
Whereas if it's the thing that benefits you but hurts the whole, or
yeah, and if it's something that helps you but hurts the whole, I would kind of question whether it does help you or whether it's just like your ego thinks it's helping you.
Yeah, because isn't that it's so easy to be like, you're hurting me by doing the things that you want to do.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. Ash said, forgiveness isn't about forgetting or making yourself vulnerable to that person again, and it isn't even for the other person. It's about letting go of something for your own sanity. Yeah, I just agree with that a lot. So, well said.
Oh yeah, we were talking about grieving. Well, psychedelics have helped me process a lot of grief, and some like intergenerational grief stuff that didn't realize was being held on to and that got passed on to me unconsciously, and having to like sort through that, understand the implications, see the ways that it was playing out in my life, and more and more having people to share that space. We have friends who are in the grief tending work and world where they have meetings where people can, and they can be as like secular and non I don't know what the right word here is, but it doesn't have to feel like anything weird or flashy to just sit and to hear what somebody else is going through, and then to have moments of like just emoting with other people. Like people tweet about like, I just want to go into the woods and scream with some friends, and it's like, you should probably do that. Like that's really good for you.
It's so easy to overlook like the simple but most effective solutions, especially I feel like when you've been in a high demand religion, and it really kind of like sets your sights like too grandiose, and it like so much of what is gonna heal the world, not to sound trite, is like deep breathing and like emoting together and holding and just listening. And it all sounds so simple that it's so easy to not do it or to even think that there's some grander solution that is needed. But just the power of being able to like talk about how you're feeling with someone else and have them be empathetic and like sharing that emotion with you. Because if someone is expressing deep grief to you, like your heart really does like feel it. Like it isn't, obviously you can't ever like fully know what another person is going through. Man is an island in some sense, but it's like we really do, like, even if it's virtual and via FaceTime or something, you feel it.
And, it's true that won't make problems go away. If someone's suffering chronic pain, just talking about it with somebody isn't going to make the chronic pain go away. But there is something so humanizing about holding that together. And whenever my heart is just cracked open, it's always a surprise, because I don't think that I'm living with like a closed heart or things until I find it like opening, and I'm like, oh God, I don't want to be a mess. I don't want to be like crying and vulnerable and like in my feelings. I just want to have a fun time and chill. And
me going into mushrooms for the first time.
Yeah.
Whoops.
But I'll use an example of, I went to a festival, and I've talked about this elsewhere and probably on this channel. Went to a festival last year, and they had a grief ceremony as part of it, where people were like drumming and singing and wailing and weeping and beating the ground and just like emoting. There was a time beforehand where people were talking about their grief and holding that, and there was like a boundary set in it, and a space was very intentionally created to make it feel safe. And it was a really positive experience. And I found myself just overwhelmed, but also like realized how inadequate I normally feel in the face of other people's grief, and how much I spend time trying to like avoid going there with people. Cause it is like, we all carry a lot of grief. Some of us probably more, harder things have happened, or really difficult things have happened, or have happened more recently, or, things shift and not everything's the same for everybody. But, we all do have grief, and so much of our society requires us to just ignore it and move around it. And if I don't want to be like, hey, tell me about all that's weighing you down with every person I meet. It's just tough. But in that setting where I was initially even unwilling to hear what other people were going through, feeling that like opening and letting the tears flow, it felt like, to be a bit woo-woo here, that my heart was a sort of a portal to a space where everything exists and people exist together. And that when I was in that space and that valve was open, it wasn't a burden that I was carrying. It was just this flow that everybody was sharing together. And when we were all sharing it together, it wasn't too much for any one of us. And then that circulation of grief also became the source of this really, really profound spiritual joy that, to kind of contradict what we were saying earlier about how things can just be simple and fine, was even more grandiose than what I imagined the church being like, because it was real. And
but still is rooted in simplicity.
Sure. And you don't need that exact situation.
You don't need a temple. You don't need a temple. You
don't need drums. You don't need,
Like, we are interdependent beings, and it cannot be overstated like how lonely most people are in our society. Who wants to meet up and hyperventilate with me during a sorromatic episode? Sad and funny.
Mike says, seriously though, I just got here. Can someone in the nutshell it for me what Tanner is talking about?
Just feeling your feelings. You don't need temples.
Same thing I'm always going on about.
Same thing we're all on about, yeah.
It's like, isn't Mormonism not true? You should feel your feelings.
Yeah. Well, we're at an hour and 22, so I'd say we should get up into the wrap-up stage. But if there's anything you guys have on your mind that you feel like we need to process as a group before you go, please send it our way. And if you want to contribute to the fundraiser that this is, you can send us super chats, or you can Venmo us at the link I'm sending in the chat now. Because we are girl bossing our way to financial stability this summer. It's Gemini season, and we're both Geminis. What are you going to do for your birthday?
My birthday will be Tuesday when we're our next filming day.
What are you going to do? What are we going to do? Oh my God, Tanner birthday live stream.
Well, I was originally planning on doing an Easter pageant, but then I couldn't get my shit together to pull it off in time.
We can pull it off in time.
I could pull it off in time. There's no doubt about it.
Do you want to do it tomorrow night? Here?
We'd probably do it at Salton because we got the stage. And, then I was like, I should go camping on my own because I've never done that.
On any time of year. No. I said I just got back from an ayahuasca retreat in Mexico, and it was so emotionally draining. We've been dying to hear about how your ayahuasca retreat goes. We're gonna need full debrief.
I've thought about it several times. I even had one point where I was like, Mike, if you're listening now on ayahuasca, sending love.
Yeah, we are so curious. Ideally, we need like an hour-long video, but just please share updates soon. Ayahuasca is so fascinating to me because it's one I'm scared to do because it does seem so intense.
As a bipolar person, I'm not bothered by much by the episodes. It's like a tidal wave that I must let flow through me. Yeah. It's so interesting and amazing, especially after having left the church, of how I relate to my issues, like with anxiety or depression or whatever it is. Like, things haven't changed, like, in a really dramatic way. It wasn't like leaving the church made all my problems go away. But in the church, I was kind of like, I would acknowledge that I was sad or whatever, but also trying to like really put on a front and being able to just accept that it happens and be like, oh yeah, sometimes I'm happy and sometimes I'm not. And that's not, I don't have to like go sorting through and being like, oh, did I offend God in some way, or do all my friends hate me? It's like, I can just feel what I'm feeling, and that's fine.
I was talking to Jared about this the other day, but it's so wild just being able to be like, okay, so like the kitten that we were fostering left the other day. And it was like, I was like joking around about getting too attached. But then when he left, I actually cried because it was emotional. Because it was like
cute.
this like beautiful, innocent, amazing gift came into our lives and then it was gone. And so my brain was a little bit like, oh. And so I did cry. And I was, but you know, I just like got a big gulp. I went on a big walk. I, you know, spent time being social. And then like I felt better. But I was like, it's so nice just to be able to honor things that come up like this. Because there's a part of my brain that with the kitten thing was like, that's so dumb to like, you know, to be emotional. And like,
not me. I've just watched videos of the kitten over and over. And been like,
the old Mormon me, not, you know, with things that are bigger than that, you kind of just push it down because it's like if you logically think you shouldn't be feeling a certain way, you refuse to feel it. And I'm like, it would have been so easy for me in the past to be like, that's so dumb that I'm like carrying it, and then to just like not really feel it, and then it's kind of like still there and you're carrying it with you. But instead I was just able to be like, there's a little bit of like a pain point in my chest and stomach right now because like and just acknowledging that pain was there, and then it was fine, and then it moved through me, and like now, you know, it's obviously fine.
Grieving queen.
Thank you. Microdosing grief by fostering a kitten.
By having to interact with the most adorable creature God ever created.
Speaking of which.
He's like, who are you talking about? Me?
The second.
Yeah, sorry. Second best creature God ever invented, which was the kitten. The first one is this kitten. Banksy.
Yeah.
From all of us to all of you.
Thank you for joining us for this live stream. Should we wrap up here?
Yeah, you streamed us back to life. Thank you so much.
We're kind of planning on making Friday live streams a regular thing. So if you think that's a good idea, let us know.
Funky Friday live
Also, should we just go balls to the wall and film with Stephanie right now for Patreon while you're here?
Oh, shit.
No worries if you can't.
I'm
but
down, yeah, let's do it.
Either way, you should join us on Patreon because we've been reading Stephanie, the story of a drug-addicted Mormon teen in the 80s, and it's really funny. And I just want all of you to be roasting Jack Wayland with us if possible. And you only have to pay, like, you can do $1 a month and then you just get everything. So it's somewhat affordable, depending on your situation.
$1.
Yeah, $1 is $1.
I could join our Patreon now. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thanks to Ray. And all of our other super chatters for the night.
Yeah, y'all are so sweet. Thank you so much.
Thanks for making this a successful fundraiser.
In times of financial scarcity, feel just really held by community and really appreciative of all of you for supporting us through the years, watching us, and giving Banksy treats.
Yeah.
We love you so much.
We do love you. And if you have video suggestions, like always tell us.
Yeah, send them our way.
And give your pets extra love from us tonight. Give them a fun night, an extra treat. Oh, it's over.
They
love
won't
you.
know what hit them. Bye.
Bye. Enjoy your nap.